So our practice session this morning will be an on-the-spot simulator. So then we will specifically have time in the last part to um, refresh the instructions for the third sub-practice for the fifth gesture, which we just received on Tuesday night. So we're going to go through the first four gestures, and just to keep it a little bit more simple, I might not explain all of the sub practices like I did yesterday morning, which was interesting, but it's a lot, right? So you can pick or draw from any of the sub practices you know or would like to play with, but I'm just going to be talking about the main um, practice of the gesture, which is, usually referring to the tiger level of first sub practice. But again, do whatever you like. So I want you to imagine, that, well, first I'll say, remember the idea that each day is a lifetime, that we're born in the morning, um, we grow up, wake up, you know, and then we have our, sort of energized time into, I don't know, is it the midlife crisis of needing a nap? I don't know. And then there's the kind of wisdom and sort of hopefully the celebration of the day or the wisdom of an elder. And then sleeping, death, bardo, dreams, rebirth, next morning. So just looking at each day as a lifetime. And part of why we take that view in the living sadhana is that it's too much sometimes to conceive of your entire life. I mean, I know we look back on bits of our life, but when you look forward and think of every, it's like, that's daunting, right? You want us to practice all the time, every day, forever? Jeez. And now, of course, I believe practice is fun, and you can do fun practice while you're having fun as much as and it makes it more fun. So I don't see any problem personally if you like having fun. And there's times where life is hard and practice is helpful. So each day is a lifetime because then we're breaking each day into a life and into a bite size, right? Yeah, like its own artistic contraption, right? That the karma of that day. Let's honor what can today be? What's special about today? What's usual about today? How can I make today the best day it can be? Do you see how that's much more approachable? And then we can begin to live the best life we can because each day is our reference point, the mini life within the bigger life. So we can talk more about that another time. I've talked about it in the past, but I think now in terms of living sadhana, it's really important. Okay, so with that backdrop, so now I want you to imagine you're in your day, and we'll do four different sections, four different times of the day. I want you to think of a typical morning, perhaps after you do this practice at the Sangha, or maybe after breakfast. Maybe it's at the beginning of what you would call your workday. And I just want you to think of a scenario, anything that comes to mind in that first part of the day, from when you wake up till, you say, I don't know, 10 in the morning or something. And I want you to pick from one of the first four gestures and imagine you're in a situation. This is a lot of imagining here. I hope you can hang. You imagine you're in a situation that would seem pretty real for you and how you might apply one of the first four gestures. And we'll just start with the first gesture yeah. Feeling aliveness, natural aliveness, just being natural aliveness, nothing to accomplish, nothing left undone. how could flashing on this, and imagine now even more specifically a scenario where you flash on it and feel how that feels in that moment. You just rest durationally in the recognition of how that changes the course of one's day, a fork in the road. And just to give a little more framing, so I picked something so simple. After I get out of this meditation with you, I go into the kitchen and I make myself breakfast. And sometimes one of my housemates is, around. And I just imagine doing this as I'm making breakfast, stopping for a moment, and then including my housemate as part of aliveness and just feeling myself, and then feeling that this sense of connection that had nothing to do with words, nothing to do with just doing the practice. And then there's this feeling of like, whoa, it's a bigger world, right? Just for an example, right? So it doesn't have to be this like, I found this perfect scenario to apply them. It just any little ordinary. Okay, let's try the next section from, I don't know, say 10 to 2, the middle of the day. So just imagine every day's different maybe, but some of us have routines. Just imagine a thing that's somewhat possible, plausible, common even for you between those times. And when you come up with a scenario, you'll apply the second gesture. And now just feel in your subtle body how that changes or enhances your experience of that moment and makes it a Dharma practice and teaching. So you can see, for me, I thought, oh, I'd probably be driving. And so I did this, and I saw the road and everything going by as this gesture too. Because of doing this, it reminded me there's this constant change and movement, and it like, wow, this day will not come again. This moment will not return like this. This is precious. And it shifts that feeling of like, wow, I don't want to take this for granted. Do you see how that helps you go, whoa, this is a day is a lifetime. It's a work of art. If I don't think my day is a work of art, I just squander the hours, right? Who cares? Some people even say, I can't wait till this day is over. No. It's like saying, I can't wait till I die and don't, this whole thing was a mistake. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? Where do you imagine you'll be that you actually want to be there at some point? Like, total fantasy. It takes work, right? We have to see this as a sacred day. All right, let's move on. Yeah, move on to like say nap time. No, just kidding. Well, it might be from somewhere around 2 to 6 or 7 or something. And just again, whatever your day is today, if you have a day that you're planned or some obligations or any generally what you might be doing on a given day, and you can use your imagination. And we'll be moving into the third gesture for this one. So finding a situation imagining you're in it and applying the practice on the spot. And of course, with the short forms, I meant to say, in this case, remember the short form of the third gesture. It I know I gave all the instructions for flashing the different sub practice. That's confusing. How about for this one, we just come into our body, and second, the second one, that you just feel your inner body and what you're feeling. So finding a scenario, a moment. We just stay durationally with the feelings in our body, honoring being touched by what we feel, letting it affect our intelligence and compassion, natural intelligence. And then, to complete diving in, coming back up refreshed, feeling a sense of purpose, connection. Yeah, they say, what's that phrase? A life not examined is a life not worth living, or something. That sounds really heavy-handed. How about uh, a life where we're not practicing is not as meaningful to us? Just. And when I say practice, I mean, of course, formal practice, always. It's bedrock of our tradition, of our lineage, and I hope we pass that on to a few people before we leave these bodies. But that said, this kind of living sadhana, where you have all these martial art forms, katas, and literally these mudras, gestures that invoke the living dharma and connect you to the auspiciousness of what's happening in your life. Do you see how potent that is? It's like, wow, this is no joke. This is like, kind of, the more I do this, I get more and more biased. I think, like, why isn't everyone doing this? Come on, this is great. This is amazing. Anyway, I'm a cheerleader for it, but it's true. I think it's pretty interesting. I'm like, I kind of want to like get all my fellow Dharma teachers to like do it for a week and see, how does your life go? Huh? How do you like it? I think they'd like it. Maybe some of them. All right, let's try, I don't know, 7-ish to the night when we go to bed. We'll do the fourth. And again, you realize, right? I'm just, for simplicity's sake, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. You could apply anything anywhere. Yeah. Okay. So say during this, we'll do the fourth gesture, and just think of a scenario, a time in the evening where, maybe, sometimes I struggle with snacking in the evening, like struggling with like, I want a treat, and I'm like, I don't need a treat. Okay, so that's one very specific one for me. But then so find a scenario and then we'll apply. Imagine you're really there. Remember, we're really centralizing, imagining we're really in that situation. And then we apply it. Yeah. So just notice. Now imagine in your imaginary day, evening, how do you feel now that you did that in that moment? What do you notice? Yeah. And now, having done that, just look back on your whole day. I believe Rain was talking about two activities, one in the beginning, one in the end, talking about framing the day in the Lojong, that we wake up with the aspiration for bodhicitta, and at the end we reflect on how we did with bodhicitta and re-avow to do it again. Um, Here, just look back at this imaginary day and think, was this day better because of my practice of on the spot flashing? Like, did it enrich my day, or am I frustrated that I did that with my time? Would my day have been better if I hadn't practiced on the spot? Or did it feel like, wow, I'm glad I did those things? And just trust your body, just like a feeling. For me, it's rather unanimous, right? It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, they did nothing to harm my day. They only made me more connected with what I'm already trying to do. And they also changed the course of certain moments so that I could be more available for myself and others. Um, they can actually help with specific worldly things too, right? Like if you know a particular part of your day is challenging, you can kind of make the aspiration to do, maybe at the end of the day, maybe tomorrow when I'm in this situation that was difficult today, may I remember to do on the spot gestures practice. Planting a seed like that matters, right? If we don't say that to ourselves, if we don't, more importantly, if we don't mean it, because you can lip service your way through life, but if you mean it and you say it plants a seed. And that is one way that aspiration practice in the evening, which was always done traditionally, was meant to be so important. You do your protector trance at dusk to mark the transition from light to dark and the way things change. You do, meal chants during the day to honor interdependence and what you've been eating and where it comes from and gratitude. And then in the morning, you wake up and open with remembering the view and chants that bring about that. Literally, the whole day in the culture of Buddhism is marked by these ceremonies or practices or rituals, usually with often chanting, which is wonderful, but it's a little bit more like you're planting all these seeds so that they will pop up during your day spontaneously. We're doing that as well. That's welcome to be done. But then the gesture just takes it to another level because we employ the subtle body and the somatic memory and all the stuff we're already practicing. Last thing I'd say is your spontaneous intelligence is key. If you come to be affiliated or accustomed to doing the gestures throughout your day, that's an accomplishment. That's a siddhi, an accomplishment of the sadhana. Every sadhana has a siddhi or many siddhis, things that are accomplished. You don't just do it because it's like I'm supposed to read this thing. They were meant to be connecting you with the deity or the power of a deity so that you could have command over the phenomenal world in ways for compassion in some way, whatever degree, right? Well, the living sadhana has that too. And, being able to do these on the spot is part of that momentum that keeps our practice happening and growing, the energy of it. The other thing I'd say is as we get more into it and we're more and more resting in the durational recognition of our pure awareness, then doing the gestures is not like some superfluous, extraneous thing. It's not like training wheels. We're like, well, you can get rid of that now. Then they become incantations or spells or magical power to enhance that pure awareness's capacity. It becomes the four karmas, or the activities of the Buddha activity. In other words, it becomes further articulation of compassion and further skillful means. So, anyway, that's just theory stuff. But it's important to think that, yes, this thing actually has legs. Like, you could actually, like any other sadhana, that's part of the culture. I just realized, sharing this right now, I probably never talked about that very much in the past. Maybe I should talk about that on a separate time. But that's nice, right? There's believing that, or feeling the belief or the faith that this is worth investing in. Then you plant the seeds, then it comes up more, right? It's not going to come up more. It's like when you have your arms crossed and you're like, impress me, and you're evaluating meditation, you're going to get an impress me feeling about meditation, which is not that good. And so you have to get in there. You have to drop your arms and you have to try. And it's the same with all of these things in life. You can't wait in the sidelines and then criticize the game. You know? It's easy to be like, these people suck, they're no good. And then you go and play. You're like, oh my God, I can't do anything. You know, so. All right, let's move into the third sub practice of the fifth gesture, the Garuda of the empathy practices. Just,
Hey, Nick,
yeah.
sorry. Is there something, form that you would suggest for right at sleep, right before sleep, for the dream world or whatever?
Yeah. Um, you know, the most simple, and we will cover that more extensively in when we hit the 15th gesture. We have lucid dreaming practices instructions that I'll give too. So there's a lot about that. But in very simply, in brief form right now, well, there's two ways to do it. One is to set an aspiration, to say to yourself, sometimes, with devotion, imagining the teachers and the lineage and saying, please bless me that my sleep be, uh, you know, in benefit of the Dharma, or that I have lucid dreams. Or the other thing is just to try meditating into sleep a bit. There are more complex techniques, but mainly like, or the more traditional thing I was talking about is saying aspirations like, may tonight, may I have a good sleep and good dreams that help me develop compassion. And then tomorrow, may I see the day as a lifetime. May I practice the gestures on the spot. Maybe I could come up with a little like chant or something too, which is nice to have an aspiration. If you want something like that, I'll give you that. Yeah, okay. It's a good idea. So this practice of, just like me, all who I see long for freedom, starts always with dropping the drop. So you have the crystal light in the forehead, dropping down the central channel, our own pace. Entering into the heart center. And then there's this natural shining. We call it the invisible light. And really, it's not something you see as much as you feel, though we might see kind of the way heat distortion happens above a fire and things get all wavy. Maybe sometimes there's some sense of energy, but it's not so visual as much as it is felt. But then things feel more glowy when we're in our heart in the sacred world, because our ayatanas soften and we see how things are naturally luminous, as opposed to the hard, cold, conceptual barriers of perception, of the unpurified sense perceptions. So that's something we're doing in all our practices, gradually, gently. Now we're going to pick someone who might need some healing and love in our life. And then we shine the invisible light, filling up our body, And then as it withdraws to the heart, we rise as someone else and we say, may I enter your experience for healing. And then if there's a yes, you proceed, and if a no, you move to someone else. And then resting in this person's perspective with this shining, clear light nature that we share, filling up their body. And here we're specifically shining the true nature, shining light to the nature of that subtle body's purity, as opposed to like trying to fix any problem or relating. It's a light to light kind of enrichment, which naturally heals or helps with whatever's going on in the experience of the physical karmic body. And then thanking this person for the opportunity to share our humanity and our true nature and their perspective, and withdrawing the invisible light to the heart, and we arise as ourselves, resting in the glow of our shared true nature. Mm, good, good, good. And now we'll dedicate the merit. All you sentient beings, I have a good or bad connection with. As soon as you have left this confused dimension, may you be born in the Western Sukhavati. And once you're born, complete the Bhumis and have a great day.